Hey, what's up, guys? So I went 2-1 last week, and that still puts me in range where if I get a 2-1 this week, I can make M3. So definitely hoping to do that. And a 2-1 would also put me probably in the top 100. And so that would be good because I'm really wanting to try to get the top 100 frame now. So hopefully a 2-1 this weekend and a 2-1 next week, and I can solidify that. That would be pretty cool. So there's not much of a difference with the rewards other than the frame. And of course the frame would just be bragging rights, but it would be nice to have. I didn't think I'd be able to get this close or stay this close, so I'm gonna really push hard for it. This is the matchmaking this week. So this is what I'm looking at. I've not gone against any of these guys before. I've heard of Poo-Poo quite a bit because Pat has gone against him, so he's dropped some because Pat usually stays around the top 50. But I just want you guys to take a look at what this matchmaking looks like because I've been in the middle lately. So I'm just going to go through their stats so you guys can see what's going on. So those are all the guys' stats, and there's no telling who I'll get matched against. Being in the middle, I would think it'd be somebody that's 4, 5, and 6 would get matched up, but you just never know. I don't think it really matters because all of these guys are going to be tough to get a win against. So I'm trying something a little bit different here. Well, actually what I'm doing is I'm going with a couple of rooms that I know have worked before. So Orchis with New War has been pretty strong for me in room 1. And that's all strikers except for Scientist Supreme. That leaves me the option to run full out of time in 2. And so that can be tricky as well. Sometimes guys trip up. So 1 and 2 can hopefully get me a drop on each of those rooms. Room 3 is a bit tougher with Pav. I think some guys will get tripped up that haven't seen how this works. But I think most of the guys where I'm at probably are familiar with it from last week, the videos and just hearing about it. So we'll see how that goes, but it still takes, a premier counter. So I'm hoping for that. And I haven't tried this Alpha Flight Nightcrawler in 4 yet. So hopefully they'll still do pretty well here. The thing in this room is I'm gonna have to rely on the stealth to give them more damage. So hopefully that helps because if they revive, then of course they come back and be hitting harder. And so the Seer has been running this Illuminati Odin all season. He said he's yet to be beat. And what I'm hearing is that you do have to double sack it and go in with a mirror. And so I would think that the team that you go in with would have to be on the same level in order to beat this. And so I would think that'd still be tricky. So we'll see how that goes. And that kind of leaves me a 3-piece Spider Society, but I was chatting with Updog, and so I think that's going to be still a good team, and throwing Quicksilver to kind of make it so Illuminati can't one-shot this, but I suppose it's a chance they could. And if they do have Illuminati on defense, it just depends on where they are. So I guess if they had them in room 5, this would be a wash. If they have them in room 1, I've been working on a counter, so we'll see how that goes. But I think for the most part, room 6 could still come down to a double sack as well. So we'll see how that goes. So Updog helped me a lot with designing this counter because we did test play with it in PvP, which is not the exact same thing because the Illuminati is much weaker outside of Crucible. But it gave us an idea because the team that I'm going in with to beat this room 1 is so strong that we figured it would have a chance. And we didn't know for sure, but it had a good chance to win. And so the idea was like to soften them up, go in with the sack, try to pull all the abilities, especially the Shuri ult. Fortunately, I was able to pull the Hank, I believe it was the Hank special with this sack. So we had gotten through all of the main abilities, and then of course Black Knight would be exhausted on the second go round. This allowed me to have a chance to beat the node, and ideally, because it was one sack, if only what happened is I softened them up and I didn't clear the node, then I would have a chance to go in with a third attack to still clear it. Because at the end of the day, by me having an Illuminati Odin on defense, I had to clear this room or it would be a wash. And so the thing that I was hoping is that Blade would get a turn. And they did target Blade. And what happened in the practice session is one of the sessions, Updog targeted Blade for 2 or 3 hits. So he kind of had an idea how it would go. And so I expected the Morgan to die. But in this particular comp, Morgan is giving the stat boost. I believe it's the health to Apoc. And so with Apoc having more health, he was able to survive. He took the hit, he got under 50%, and he healed himself up. And so that allowed him to do his ult. And then Agatha, who barely hung on, and Moon Knight, they were able to get their turns in, so it made for a very good counter. Going forward, I think to make this counter better, I'm going to strengthen Agatha and Moon Knight and probably use Wong, because Wong is going to give Agatha 30% barrier, and that will make her extremely strong. And so with this counter here, what I did is I sacked to pull no abilities, and that just gave me a chance to go in with the Eternal Secret Defenders. I had taken the Photon to 3 diamonds, so instead of them targeting Photon, they targeted Ghost Rider Robbie. That's still problematic, but because Photon does so much damage with her passive, I'm okay with that. And at the end of the day, I have both of them, Robbie and Photon, as strong as I can make them. And as you can see, when Robbie takes his turn, he heals up. So this counter was just never in doubt. Once again, it seems like a sack was needed. And Updog came up with this sack because his thought is to pull more abilities using Nick's ult, because you'd have the minions, you'd have some targets for them to hit, and that will give a chance to pull the Skrull's ultimate. And I think that's the main thing I wanted. The hope was if I could pull Gore's special, then I would have pulled everything I needed to pull. Not going to pull Thanos, his passive, because this team just can't do the damage. But the main thing is to get the Skrull ult here, and then at least I got the Gore ult, and so now I'm in good shape to go in with this Old Man Logan and Ares. The biggest problem here that I'm seeing is that Ares cannot be next to Old Man Logan, because I think this happened before where they were targeting Ares. Now Ares is stronger, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put Ares in the middle, and then Doc, and then Old Man Logan on the edge. And I think that gives Old Man Logan a better chance to survive. It may not, they may still target Old Man Logan, but the hope is that they'll target Ares with him being in the middle. And at least if he gets off his ult, then he would have done his job. Well, he does his job anyway, just because his presence there to stop the safeguard from Gladiator. But at the end of the day, the main thing is that Old Man Logan gets a chance to get his special going. He'll get a revive, and then he can just take care of the team. Fortunately, this happened, and in the long run, this is why I'm not putting any diamonds on Skrull, because I think the diamonds will be much better for me in my game style to have the diamonds on Old Man Logan. So ideally, if I can get 1 diamond on him, I think it makes him just enough health to survive something like this, as these Annihilators are getting stronger and stronger, and most likely I'll probably be using Old Man Logan as the counter. It could happen that I use the Apoc version, because guys are using Apoc with Tangle Web, but I don't know that down the line we'll be able to use Apoc as much for that counter. And so this is just kind of a reliable counter. So I wanted to save Superior 6 for the extreme, even though they have Dorm, I've gone in this before, and typically what happens is you do have to target the dorm right off the bat. But as you see here, when Green Goblin goes, he clears the stealth off who I wanted him to, which is Forge, and block the Forge. It kind of slows things down a bit. The only problem is I can't get enough damage done to Rogue to really get back to the Forge. So Rogue here, I think, is a skirmisher, and I was kind of surprised that she was able to be so durable that way. And perhaps that would be a good move, is to change her to skirmisher. But at this point, I think Rogue has some potential on offense to go with Apoc and Morgan, maybe even Red Hulk, something like that, as an offensive team. At any rate, you see here that Forge still does his ult, and so that was a concern. But Nightcrawler didn't heal up, so that helped out, and then I was able to really kind of shift my focus. Now, at this point, I still need to get through the Rogue, but Forge is not as much a concern as he was before, and so that gives me a chance to hopefully get back over to Nightcrawler. Now, in this sequence, it just so happens that Forge is so weak that I don't have to focus on him. But if I did, then it would be a choice, because I'm looking at the Nightcrawler, or do I go for Forge? And maybe I would still go for Forge, just make sure he's dead. As you see here, I was able to use the Slayer's ult to just permakill the Nightcrawler. And so from here, I don't expect it to be an efficient battle, but I know I can win it, because the Gambit and the Rogue together are not enough to wipe out the entire team that I have. They were able to kill my my Craven, and that was a bit of a surprise. But at the end of the day, to only lose one toon, and really this is a tough battle with Dorm, I think was worth it, because Craven had done his job. And at the end of the day, I think it was going to come down to the Green Goblin and the Vulture to really finish this off. And as you can see, that's kind of what happens. And in the long run, the idea is just to clear the rooms and not worry about efficiency the way I have my defense set up at this particular time, because ideally it takes a double sack for my room 5 and 6. And possibly if I can get a hold with my Nightcrawler Alpha Flight, then that may help me get a win. And so what I'm starting to see is that the Cabal, Zemo, and Ultimus is just really strong enough to go ahead and just make light work of the Night Stalkers. And as you can see here, I go right in on the Sasquatch, and then so when Ultimus gets his turn, take out the Sasquatch. My thought was to target the Blade, just because I wanted to get the assist to take him out, and so that was the plan. But even though he didn't, I shift targets to Agatha, and then so that the main thing is now Blade is dead, get Agatha out, and then Moon Knight won't be much of an issue on his own. And so that kind of worked pretty smoothly for good efficiency. Here, I've not had much of a problem. This is the third time I've gone into this room, maybe the fourth or fifth time I've used the New Warriors on a full Orchis. What I found out is that if there is a Mysterio in there, then you would have to shift this counter and take out Dagger as, and I don't know if it works, but you probably have to use Kestrel, because what'll happen is Nimrod will be faster than the New Warriors. But without the Mysterio, New Warriors are still faster. The plan is still the same. No matter what, you just go right in as your normal moves on the summon bot, and then you want to spread so that you can hit, if possible, you want to hit the Scientist Supreme. Fortunately, his placement allowed me to do that. Now, if Scientist Supreme was on the other end, this could be a little bit harder, and that's something I'm thinking about too, is maybe have Scientist Supreme as far away from any possible summons of the Omega, or I mean not the Omega, of the Sentinel, to give her a chance, or to have less of a chance to spread any type of negative buffs to her. But I think in the end of the day, New Warrior still counters this team. You can see that was a 1-mil punch up. And so now we're going into the defenses. So we're going to just let this play so you guys can see how this goes.